Hey folks, let's talk about a moment that's got everyone buzzing from the Beltway to the back roads. You've probably seen the clip by now. President Trump slamming his hand on a table during a live TV roundtable, his face tight with anger, while Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett sits across from him cool as a cucumber, not even blinking. This wasn't just another political spat. Nah, this was raw, unscripted, and it's exposed a whole lot more than anyone bargained for. So grab a coffee, settle in, because I've got the full breakdown of what went down, why it's blowing up, and what it means for a country already on edge. Picture this. It's a sticky Thursday afternoon in D.C., and we're in the Capitol's secondary chamber. It's one of those ethics reform panels, the kind that usually gets chopped into 30-second sound bites for the evening news before disappearing into the void. A rotating crew of journalists from the big three networks is moderating, cameras are rolling, millions are watching live. Trump's there, flanked by advisors and a couple of senators trying to look important. Across the table is Jasmine Crockett, a Democratic rep from Texas, known for being blunt but not exactly a household name, at least not yet. The convo starts slow. Two long-winded opening statements drag on, and you can almost feel the audience zoning out. Then it's Crockett's turn. She doesn't fidget with her mic, doesn't clear her throat for effect. She just locks eyes with the president straight on, no hesitation, and lets it rip. Mr. President, your language about urban districts isn't just careless, it's dangerous. These aren't talking points you're tossing out to hype up your base. People in my district are watching their neighborhoods change, not because of policy, but because of fear. Boom! The room goes dead silent. Even the tech guys in the back stop scrolling on their phones. Trump leans back in his chair, face unreadable, but you can feel the tension crackling. Crockett doesn't stop. Her voice is slow, deliberate, like she's carving every word into stone. Every time you say our elections are full of fraud, you're not just attacking a system. You're attacking voters like mine, working-class folks who don't look like you, don't live like you, and are sick of being treated like background noise. The air feels heavy, like everyone's holding their breath. Then Trump snaps. He leans forward, voice sharp and climbing, and slams his hand on the oak table so hard the mics pick up the thud. You don't talk to me like that. Who the hell do you think you are? The moderator flinches. Cameras catch it from three angles. But Crockett, she doesn't even twitch. She just looks at him calm as ever and says, "Mr. President, with all due respect, the truth doesn't require your permission." Time slows down. No shouting, no chaos, just this piercing silence. Trump's tight-lipped glaring. The producers scramble to a wide shot, but it's too late. That 20-second clip is already rocketing across social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. People aren't just reposting it for the drama. They're sharing it because it's rare. A member of Congress just called out the president face-to-face on live TV and didn't fold when he pushed back. Political analyst Mark Shelley summed it up on MSNBC later that night. You could see it in her body language. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't just talking to the room, she was talking to millions of people who've been waiting for someone to say this out loud. The White House tried to spin it quick, dropping a vague statement about media framing and claiming Trump responded appropriately to a mischaracterization. But let's be real, the damage was done. Or for Crockett, the opposite. Overnight, her Instagram followers doubled. Her district office in Dallas got over 700 emails in 6 hours, most saying thanks. She was trending in 4 states. On Capitol Hill the next morning, the vibe was weird. Some lawmakers dodged eye contact. Others pulled her aside to whisper thank you or just you were right. But the real shockwave wasn't in D.C. It was rippling across the country. By sunrise, cable news was all over it. CNN's headlines screamed Jasmine Crockett confronts Trump head-on. Fox went with Congresswoman disrespects president in live ethics panel. The battle lines were drawn, and a nation already itching from political drama leaned in. In Fresno, California, a retired teacher named Linda Mendez watched the clip on loop over her morning coffee. She said, "What I've been thinking for years," she told her daughter on the phone. Down in Tallahassee, Marcus Bell, a delivery driver, played it for his co-workers during a break. "Yo, that lady ain't scared of nothing," one guy said. Heads nodded. This wasn't just a moment, it was seismic. Reactions split hard. On one side, folks saw Crockett's words as a breath of fresh air in a stale room. On the other, people thought she'd crossed a line by talking to the president so directly. Talk radio blew up with calls. Online comment sections turned into war zones. Morning show panelists couldn't agree, was this bravery or disrespect? While the internet raged, Crockett showed up to work like nothing happened. Outside the Capitol, reporters swarmed for a soundbite. She gave him one, "I said what I said." My job isn't to flatter power, it's to speak truth for the people who put me here, especially when that truth makes folks uncomfortable. By lunch, her line was on T-shirts sold by a Dallas vendor. Her office tried to shut it down, but the phrase was already wildfire. Not everyone was cheering, though. Within an hour of the clip peaking online, a conservative PAC dropped a heavily edited version, stripping out Crockett's calm tone and framing her as unhinged. Radical left Congresswoman lashes out at President, the caption read. The comments were uglier, calling her disrespectful, out of control, and embarrassment. Things escalated fast. Her personal email leaked. Threats rolled in. Her staff went on lockdown and security at her Texas office beefed up. Some in Congress whispered she'd put herself in political danger. A few suggested a soft apology to cool things off. She didn't bite. Instead, she doubled down on Good Morning America 2 days later. Sitting with host Sarah Owens, she said, "I'm not interested in tiptoeing around truth just because it makes some people uncomfortable. If this country wants ethics reform, it starts with honest conversations, even when they're hard." By now it was clear Crockett wasn't backing off, and the public wasn't letting go. In a Dayton, Ohio high school civics teacher, Robin Galen played the clip for her 10th graders. One kid asked, "Why doesn't anybody else talk to the president like that?" Robin didn't have an answer. But it wasn't just classrooms. Churches, barbershops, town halls, book clubs, everyone was talking. Some called it disrespect, others real leadership. It sparked a deeper question, especially in certain circles. What does accountability look like when you speak truth to power, particularly as a black woman in a system built to mute you? Even late-night comics jumped in. Stephen Colbert quipped, "Crockett hit Trump with the one-liner of the decade, 'The truth doesn't require your permission.' That's not a mic drop, that's a mic obliteration." But one moment cut through the noise. At a Sunday town hall in Tacoma, Washington, Crockett spoke at a grassroots voting event. After the canda, an older woman named Evelyn stood up, cane in one hand, mic in the other. "I watched you speak to that man like he was your equal, not your boss, not your fear, your equal. That's the first time I've seen something like that in my lifetime." Crockett swallowed hard, blinked twice, and just said, "Thank you." The applause roared louder than ever. Meanwhile, behind the scenes in D.C., the West Wing was fuming. Not chaotic, just tight, the kind of tension that leaks into hallway glances and quick memos. By Friday afternoon, staffers weren't pretending the clip hadn't gone viral. Senior advisors were on their third round of calls with cable news producers trying to spin Trump's outburst as passion or presidential firmness. One aide off the record texted just Trump being Trump. But this felt different. It wasn't just him losing his cool. It was how composed she stayed and how people reacted to it. In the Roosevelt Room at 4:22 p.m., a meeting convened. Communications Director Dylan Reese, Press Secretary Amanda Ridge, Chief of Staff Barry Lang, and legal team members sat in quiet panic. "We need a pivot," Amanda said, eyes on her tablet. "People think he got rattled. The longer we ignore it, the more that's the story." Barry sighed. She got under his skin. "It happens." Dylan snapped, "It doesn't just happen. It landed. People see him lose his temper weekly, but this time he looked threatened." No one argued. Across the hall, Trump paced the Oval Office, refusing calls from party leaders, urging him to move on. He was livid that Crockett's name was floating as a potential 2028 contender on MSNBC. Worse, a push poll showed her approval among independents spiked 13 points in 48 hours. "She's nobody," he shouted at an aide. "Nobody watches those districts, you hear me?" The aide stayed quiet. Trump flipped on OAN, hoping for friendly coverage, but even they were cautious, tossing around words like composure and poise about her. Downstairs, Amanda Ridge rewrote talking points for the evening briefing. "We're saying the president stands firm against unfair attacks," she told her assistant. "Don't mention Crockett by name. Keep it on ethics. We're not giving her more oxygen." But the spin wasn't sticking. By Saturday morning, a leak hit. Audio from the roundtable room post-camera cut caught Trump muttering under his breath, cursing, grumbling about uppity showboating and media stunts. Critics pounced, calling the language racially charged. Crockett didn't respond directly, but her staff confirmed she'd heard it. Her silence spoke louder than any tweet. Meanwhile, at the RNC, strategists labeled it a messaging disaster. Some worried Trump's fixation on the exchange kept him off message, heading into a key legislative push. In swing states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, field organizers got odd questions at town halls. Is she running for something bigger? Back at the White House, Trump called a special briefing with media allies wanting an op-ed or interview to reassert dominance. Asked if he'd address the incident head-on, he snarled, "I don't give her that. She doesn't get that. She wants attention. She can bark on TikTok." The room went quiet. Amanda Ridge texted her deputy under the table, "This could spiral." That night, while D.C. slept, Crockett was in her southeast apartment prepping a speech for a university in St. Paul. Her phone buzzed with a security alert, another anonymous threat flagged by Capitol Police. She paused, stared at the screen, then flipped it face down. She called her mom. "They're going to keep coming for me now," she said softly. Her mother didn't hesitate, "So let them come. If they're coming, it means you're doing something right." But real-world fallout loomed. Long before she faced off with a president or trended online, Jasmine Crockett was just a kid from Mesquite, Texas. Her dad worked nights as a bus mechanic. Her mom, a nurse, ran the house like a war room. It wasn't fancy, but it was tough. Her first public speaking gig wasn't Congress. It was at Mount Olive Baptist Church at age 9, reciting a poem for Youth Day. Her voice shook. She butchered perseverance, but she kept her head up and powered through. That grit stuck. She didn't dream of politics. Law was the plan. A rude professor dismissing her in college at Prairie View AANDM lit a fire. That night in her dorm, she told her roommate, "I'm just figuring out how to make people like that hear me." She graduated top third hit law school in Dallas, and while peers chased corporate gigs, she volunteered to defend evicted tenants. Some nights she rolled into court in second-hand suits heels, pinching car barely starting. She kept going. By her early 30s, she was a known name in North Texas legal circles, not flashy, just relentless. If justice wasn't served, she didn't play nice. The turning point came when a client's nephew got arrested at a protest. Cell phone footage contradicted the resisting arrest charge. Crockett took it pro bono, got it tossed, and sparked a quiet movement in her community. When she ran for state legislature, her rep was already solid. Not polished, but focused. Her speeches skipped metaphors for plain talk stats, then the stories behind them. At town halls, she let folks ramble past time limits. Her staff hated it. She didn't care. When she won her congressional seat, some thought she'd soften to fit in. Nope. She brought that same raw energy to every hearing, every meeting. She didn't speak often on big TV events, not out of fear, but because she was waiting for the right moment. The moment when her words wouldn't just be heard, they'd hit hard. That moment came at the round table. Her staff sensed something that morning. She barely spoke in the car, skipped coffee in the green room, just sat scrolling crime stats from her district. She looked up and said, "They're not going to like what I'm about to say, but they need to hear it." And they did. What made her words cut deep wasn't just the delivery, it was the decades behind them. Courtroom battles, town halls, files in her closet, labeled with handwritten tabs, evictions, custody fights, ICE raids. She'd lived the struggle she was now calling out on national TV. Even her allies in Congress didn't see it coming. Repair Colin Wexler, who'd worked with her on voting rights, said later, "She doesn't waste a breath. Jasmine speaks when she's got something to say, and when she does, it's coming from a real place." But to her critics, all that history got shrunk to attitude and aggression. They didn't see the years, they saw the clip. Her people, though, they saw a storm that had been brewing quietly for years, finally breaking through. In Dallas's District 30, this wasn't abstract policy chatter. It was real: cracked streets, late buses, grocery stores closing, leaving blocks with nothing but liquor shops and dollar stores. Add in voter suppression fears, purged rolls, moved precincts, and that's what Crockett was fighting for when she stared down Trump. Not theory, real lives. 2 days after the round table, she flew home for a scheduled visit. No private entrance, she walked through Dallas Love Field's main terminal. A security guard whispered, "You shook him." "I don't think he's used to that," and grinned. Outside her Oak Cliff office, a small crowd waited reporters' residence. One woman held a sign, "Truth, don't ask permission." A teen in a wrinkled button-up asked if she was hiring interns. "Bring your resume Monday," she said. Inside, phones rang non-stop. Calls from Long Beach, Ohio, even Alaska, her district manager said, exhausted. But it's the local stuff hitting hard. He handed her a list: of voter registration office in Wilmer cut Saturday hours, a bus line for low-income areas stopped after 7 p.m., 2 polling spots closed for budget reasons. Crockett scanned it, then said, "I want to see every one of these in person." So she did. In an unmarked car, no press, she hit Wilmer first. The desk clerk looked nervous. "I didn't know you were coming." "That's the point," Crockett replied. Outside, a Vietnam vet named Calvin flagged her down. "I don't do politics, but what you said, that was real. They treat us like we're stupid. They count on it. And they hope you stay quiet," she shot back. He smiled. "Not anymore." At a shuttered polling site, an old middle school, she stared at the chain-link fence. Budget reasons, they claimed, but lights were on, custodians still worked, so why was voting off the table? That question burned. Later at Kennys' spot, a no-frills barbershop, she listened. An older guy getting a cut said, "They move the polls like we don't notice, then blame turnout on us. They want us tired. Now the barber cut in, they want us invisible." Crockett took a breath. "Well, I've been told I'm a little too visible lately." Laughter broke the tension, then silence. A younger guy said, "Keep being visible." "My sister cried watching that video. Said you made her feel like she mattered." The quiet after that hit harder than applause. She stayed another hour just listening. That's what she did best, listen. Ask, notice what wasn't said. But back at the office that night, the mood shifted. A thick envelope from Capitol Security arrived, updated safety protocols, flagged threats, a memo advising no large gatherings without police. Her chief of staff looked worried. "We might need to slow down." Crockett flipped through the memo, then slid it into a drawer. "They want us scared." "Because scared people sit down," her staffer said. "Not today," she replied. While ground support grew at home, whispers in D.C. sharpened. The internet didn't just react, it exploded. What started as a 20-second clip became a symbol. On Twitter, thousands amplified it with #Jasmine held the line. Others drowned it with "race baiter, loudmouth attention seeker." Hate came fast. So did love. Crockett stayed silent online, and that only made it louder. On TikTok, Gen Z creators dissected it frame by frame. One from Phoenix pointed to her pause as Trump interrupted himself. "That's strategy, not emotion. That's control without shouting." Another layered her quote over historic speeches, comments blazing with fire emojis, and "Why don't more politicians talk like this?" By morning, artists dropped tributes, paintings, digital collages, a spoken word piece over jazz. Crockett stayed focused on district visits and calls. Asked why she wasn't engaging online, she said, "This isn't about trending. It's about truth." Still, the momentum didn't slow, it got personal. Influencers tied her words to their own silenced moments. A hospital worker in New Mexico said, "I've worked 15 years and never seen a woman shut down a man like that without raising her voice." That's not just political, it's cultural. Of course, not all attention was kind. By Sunday, right-wing outlets resurfaced old courtroom footage, edited to make her look erratic, combative. One video, "The Real Jasmine Crockett," painted her as anti-cop, ignoring her career defending working families. Her office didn't bite, and something wild happened. The more critics smeared, the stronger online support grew. People saw through the edits. They knew what they watched live. Even late-night hosts piled on. Laura Mehta on The Daily View quipped, "Imagine being so shaken by a woman speaking truth that you punch a table on live TV. Sir, calm down. It's not a Marvel villain, it's a congresswoman." In a Monday podcast, strategist Jay Crenshaw nailed it. This isn't just a media moment. It's a cultural crack. People are tired of polished lies. Crockett didn't try to go viral, that's why it happened. Her aides tracked numbers quietly. Engagement soared, followers up by hundreds of thousands, mentions tripled, small-dollar donations hit a record without her asking. But it wasn't just her. The public watched. It was the system's reaction. When the storm dies, what's next going viral can be a blessing or a target.